Hello, we are the Geeks and the Giants, and we're going back to school. For this week at least.
Oh God!
Oh God, why? But yeah,
Because our high school days were that great.
yeah, and again, this is one of the requests that people ask for in our Discord community. So if you want to join our community, you can ask for movies, and we'll think of the perfect lineup for it. And we always don't do it right away, so just wait a while and be patient with us. But yeah, we are revisiting a classic for this one, The Breakfast Club, directed by John Hughes and starring a who's who of 80s cast like Emilio Estevez, Molly Ringwald, and Judd Nelson.
Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall as well, dude
Yeah,
from Halloween Kills.
Halloween Kills, The Dark Knight. He's in a lot of shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Before we get into the plot, what was your first introduction to this?
I think it was back in 2016 where it was like, "Oh, I heard about the Breakfast Club," and you hear that song, and the guy goes like this, and it was like, "Well, we gotta watch that iconic scene." Not gonna lie, I completely forgot about it until I rewatched it for this review. Because, in my opinion, not really a rewatchable movie. In my opinion, I really don't see myself being like, "You want to watch The Breakfast Club and grab a popcorn and shit?" Nah.
Well, that's because in our time, there were a lot more, a shit ton more, high school centric or college centric movies that were like, I can kind of relate a bit more to it because it's a bit more my time.
Mm. Oh, here I could see some characters being really relatable.
Yeah.
Like, we get the popular girl, Brian. But at the same time, it is like, yeesh, kind of
Yeah.
humor or commentary. I don't know,
Yeah, there's some statements here you're like, that would never fly today, otherwise I'd be in jail.
and I don't get John. What's his name?
John Bender.
I don't get him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really don't.
For me at least, my first introduction to this was like me Netflix surfing, and then my mom just came across in the back and she's like, "Oh shit, it's a Breakfast Club. You should watch it." I'm like, "All right, I'll check it out." And I watched it and I was like, "Damn, that was pretty good." Watched it a few more times. I'm like, "This is really good." But then at the same time, Netflix had uploaded a shit ton of other high school movies like Mean Girls and Easy A. I'm like, "Ooh, more things to watch." So this kind of, I know it's a classic and it's regarded as a classic, but like again, I was like, I can kind of relate to like Emma Stone and Chris Evans more than 80s. Not just because it's set in the 80s, but like you know, high school back then was it's not what it is today. Kind of.
Oh, agreed. Agreed.
They're still jocks, they're still nerds, but like different ballpark this time.
Mm, I get that. And sometimes, like, oh, like bullies nowadays are completely different. Like, they're not upfront anymore.
Yeah,
They usually do it like the ones that are scary are like the ones who still do the traditional bullying.
yeah,
They kind of give them a little bit of respect for sticking to tradition, but nowadays bullies are just like on the keyboard, just like saying whatever the fuck they want.
yeah.
And I'm like, ooh.
Uh,
Eesh.
and
I don't advocate for bullying. I was bullied. It's horrible.
me too. We don't advocate bullying, but yeah, different ballpark. And going to the plot, like you find out these teenagers have detention on Saturday. Uh, John Bender, Claire, Allison, Clark, and Brian. And like just from the introductions, you get a feeling of what their family background is. Because Brian's mom's like, "This better be the last time, the first and only time you get detention."
The perfectionist,
Yeah,
the like take your time. I was just make use of your time. I mean, while
yeah,
you're in detention, study as much as you can. Like you have to be A's all
yeah.
the way. While what's the name of the redhead girl?
Claire.
Claire. Yeah, she's pretty much the spoiled brat, the princess, but the
Yeah,
separated parents.
yeah.
And weird girl, weird girl. She didn't
Allison.
even get Allison.
Yeah,
She didn't even get to talk to her parents. They just dropped her
yeah.
off and left. And
I
I'm like,
mean, considering why she's there, they're probably like, "All right, weirdo."
Right, good point. Like at the end of the movie, when you find out why she's
Yeah.
at detention, if I was the parent, I'm like, okay, I wouldn't storm off like that, but
Yeah.
like, what?
Maybe
Make
gas
friends, make
prices.
friends, I guess.
I guess the gas prices were different. Like, you made us drive all the way here for what?
Right?
Why? And John's
I like
dad.
Bender just walks in.
Yeah. And then, yeah, sorry, not John. Clark's dad is like, "Oh, you better not blow your ride because he's on a scholarship program. He's a wrestler. And, like, his dad doesn't tolerate any failure, no losers in this house, sir.
No weaklings,
Yeah.
nothing like that. Very toxic masculinity.
Yeah. And, like, we get introduced to Vernon, and he's very old school, and he's like, I'm troubled by the fact you have detention. You should really think about your place in the society.
I don't get what he was doing. Like, you got 2 months. I was like,
Horns,
let's
I
do
guess.
this. Let's do this.
Uh,
And I get him.
yeah.
Like, the other kids are fine. Allison's kind of like just weird.
Mm.
Brian is,
What's her deal? She's just weird, man.
yeah, we'll just get there. But Bender, dude, gives us a reason. He's like, this guy's a shitty guy.
Before we dive into that, he tells his kids to write an essay. Like, tell me about yourself and what you think I want to think of you as. Like, I see you as a criminal or a basket case. You have to write exactly that. But he doesn't say that,
Oh,
but
God.
they know they want him.
Oh, yeah, that's what he labels them.
Yeah,
It's
they-
like the jock, the popular kid, the smart one, the criminal, and the basket case.
He wants them to conform to his ideals, and they're like, at the end, they're like, we won't do that.
Why?
Yeah. You know, we humans are more complex. But yeah, like starting things, John is such a shithead. You're like, man, just shut up. We got 8 hours of detention, and you're being this annoying. And like what he says when he's like, all right, let's close the door and we'll do something to the prom queen. We're like, oh my god.
Yeah, we're not gonna say it because YouTube. But yeah, there was a RAPE commentary joke. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't get John. It's either he's making a joke or making a commentary on it, but it's very offensive. And also, like, he doesn't. When they talk back to him, he gets offensive, but he does the exact same thing to them at the start.
Like
I don't get John.
Yeah,
Whatever his name,
he can.
Bender.
He can. What do you call it? He cannot take it, but he can take. Attack. But he's weak.
Yeah. He can deal the blows,
Yeah.
but he can't take the blows.
Yeah. It's weird.
So I guess that is his character, where he's like throwing punches everywhere he goes. But once he gets punched, he gets like really emotional about it.
Yeah, he can. He douses fire on all over the place, but he can't take the heat.
Right? Yeah. That's a good one.
And like,
I don't like him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me
he
too.
might be the center of the Breakfast Club. Stupid name, by the way.
they do start at
But
like 8.
huh?
They do start at like 8 a.m. So maybe that's why.
Maybe. But like, I don't like him. Dude's not likable, in my opinion. Sure, he brings people together and make them wonder, like, oh fuck, who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
But you could do it in another way, fuck.
Yeah.
But we do get an explanation why he's like this. Still no
Yeah.
excuse though.
Yeah. And like, if I were younger, I would like John more. But like now, I kind of relate more to Clark. And I'm just like, just shut the fuck up. You think you're so
Dude.
cool and shit.
Dude, now you think about it. Remember high school where a bunch of kids would act like John? I think they watched The Breakfast Club and thought,
Right.
that's the coolest guy in the room.
Right?
And now we're the fucking Bryans. And we're like, oh.
Yeah.
Not Brian in a way of like, oh, we're a suck up to the big mean guy.
Yeah.
We're like Brian, like we're the ones who got bullied.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and the bully's having an identity crisis.
Yeah. And like, they kind of go into their parentage. Like, you find out that, like you said before, Claire is a rich kid. She grew up spoiled. Like, Mom says no, but dad says you can get away with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
And
Whereas, and then, like, of course, Bender kind of has to go, who will you choose?
yeah,
And she goes with the safe route of, like, I would rather stay with my brother.
yeah. And then they find out Brian. Well, John Bender insults Brian, calling him like you're a Boy Scout. You're a parent's wet dream. Like
Mm.
you won't question them. You won't answer back to them. You're everything a parent wants. Uh, which is an unfair generalization because you find out later on how much pressure he puts on himself.
Mm. Yeah, to be a perfectionist
Yeah,
for his parents.
yeah.
And yes, this entire movie is a commentary on what are bullies like? What are the kids being bullied are like? What are the ne'er-do-wells? What's going on with them? What are the popular kids going through? What are the class weirdos going through?
Yeah.
Which I really liked. I like that about this movie. I didn't get it when I was 16 when I first watched it. As I got older and I've been through that shit, I kind of saw like, oh, maybe not everybody's all like, you can't take everything at face value.
Yeah, like they're more than the box you think they're in. And like throughout, like maybe the first half of the movie, Allison never speaks. She reacts, and like that's kind of cute and weird. Don't know why, but like,
Yeah.
as you mentioned before, like John Bender can throw blows but can't take them because like he removes a screw from the door and Vernon's like, "Where's the screw? What happened?" And like he immediately points out John Bender, and John Bender's being a smartass. He's like, "Oh, so you want to see me for another Saturday?" He's like, "I don't care. So what? Like, all right, another Saturday." Meh,
And
another Saturday.
it keeps building up
Yeah.
and building up
Yeah,
until it became 2 months worth of detention. So he
Yeah.
has to stay there for 2 more months.
yeah,
And I was like, well, that's on you, homie.
Right?
I was like, you could have just shut the fuck up
like
at this point.
there are teachers you have, or you can mess it, but once you cross the line, you're like, all right, I need to remember, teacher-student relationships, and like I am pushing a line.
Yeah, if you say this is a commentary on, I'll say the word commentary a lot because a lot of this movie is that.
Yeah,
On like going against the system or like this kind of punishment is wrong. What the teacher stands for is wrong.
yeah,
But at the same time, what Bender's doing is kind of stupid.
yeah. Like he's cool going against the system, but yeah, he's such a shithead. And he's like insulting everyone. You're like Clark. Like,
Yeah.
why do you insult everyone? You think you're so smart. You think you stand out from the rest of the crowd, but you just look stupid.
I agree with Clark here.
Yeah,
A lot of the times he would be like ripping up a book. I forgot what it was, but it was like great literature.
yeah,
But and it kind of looks like he's trying to say something about it.
yeah,
Or he's just doing something, but instead it just makes him look stupid, and he's destroying public property,
yeah,
private property. Actually, sorry, that's schools.
yeah. And then when it's lunchtime, Clark and Allison go out, and it's the first time we hear Allison talk, and he's like, "So, what's your poison?" She's like, "Vodka." You drink vodka all the time? When I can. And you're like, interesting. Please expound. And she's like, why are you here? And it's like, oh, my dad and my coach don't want me to blow my ride, and that's why I'm here. And she's like, that's not the reason.
I don't get what blow my ride means, but I
Like,
guess scholarship.
yeah, the scholarship. He doesn't want
Okay,
to
okay.
win what the school's giving him.
Okay.
And then you find out that Brian makes a confession unintentionally because he's like, yes, I've had sex. I have been in a romantic relationships like a girl in Canada.
Unlike somebody. Okay. I'm sorry, Enza.
If you see our TikTok, that's the most recent upload. God help
Yeah.
me.
uh,
Uh,
but yeah, like he kind of pressures Brian into like confessing, like you are a virgin, and Claire kind of clears out the room, like saying, "Hey, it's not that bad to be a virgin.
yeah,
It really isn't. If your choice is not to have sex, it's fine."
yeah. Um, And then when lunch actually does happen, again, it's a nice commentary on like where these kids come from, socially. Like Claire has nice
Has
sushi.
sushi.
Yeah,
Clark has like huge amount of protein.
yeah, like big
Uh,
boy.
yeah. Bender doesn't have anything.
Yeah,
I guess that's on him. Uh, Brian has just a regular, simple American
yeah.
Western food,
And Allison is
and
like, what are you
it's
doing?
I don't know,
That doesn't look appetizing at all, to be honest.
like a heart attack on a bun, like a shit ton of sugar and I don't know, corn nick. What are those?
Like that amount of sugar, you might go into a diabetic coma. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh, also, she is gross.
Yeah,
She is very gross. Early on into the movie, she's drawing a really nice bridge,
yeah.
and then she was like, "Oh, I want to make it snow," and she just puts her dandruff all over the drawing. I'm like, "Okay, you're very cute, but like, no, that's disgusting."
Yuck. It's here that John decides to take a dig at poor Brian's family. And you're like, what is your problem?
Right? Yeah. John keeps digging into people's lives and then criticize them and gives
Yeah.
them a whole speech if they criticized his.
Yeah.
Again, I really don't like John. The actor did an amazing job.
Yeah, Judd
But-
Nelson.
Judd Nelson did an amazing job.
Yeah, yeah. But like, Clark's like, oh, what about your life? And John describes in vivid detail like what his home life is like. Like his dad is abusive to him and his mom is just essentially just standing by and as it happens.
Yeah. And he goes on this whole, confession of like, oh, this is my life. This is why I'm like this.
Yeah, it shows
And
him
I-
cigarette burn.
Yeah, and this is where, Clark was like, that's bullshit, and shows him the cigar burn. And we're like, oh, we're supposed to sympathize with this fucker. I don't. Again, I'm sorry. No matter what your background is, if you're a shitty fucking person,
Yeah,
it doesn't excuse what you're doing.
yeah, yeah.
Which I really don't like. We're pitying the guy who brings a knife to school.
Right? Like, not to agree with the stereotype. I'm like, no wonder the teacher has it out for you because he's like, this kid's struggle.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
He really is. And we see why. It's the parents.
yeah,
Bit by bit, they reveal what their parents are like. With Clark, his parents are, well, mostly his dad is I want my son to be the strongest, fastest, one in school, the best of the best.
yeah,
Claire's parents, she can't choose. One is a very strict mother, the other one's a very loose dad. If they were together, I guess it would have been an okay mix, but I guess not. Brian has a perfectionist of a mom,
yeah.
which he cannot handle the pressure. I don't know what the fuck's going on with Allison.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know why every time John does something kind of funny or entertaining, like Claire is slowly falling for him. We're like, why?
Yeah, like he does something, like he's staring at the book, and she's like,
Yeah,
and then like he insults her right after. I'm like, what the fuck? She cries. She goes like, "What the fuck's wrong with you? Can you shut the fuck up?"
and then the end of the movie, this movie happens. You're like, huh?
Yeah, no, not even the end of the movie. He insults her like multiple times, and then just because they're stuck together, they make up out of nowhere. Like they're fine.
Yeah,
Like the amount of shit that he exposed to the world without your consent, and then you're okay with it. A
yeah.
few minutes later, I don't get it.
Like, just because she's a spoiled child, like, doesn't give you the right to cross the line multiple times. Like, the things
Exactly.
he says, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ.
What's your problem?
Yeah, but yeah, as you said, he can't handle the heat, so he goes upstairs for a while, and then Vernon has to take a shit or something, and they sneak out, and he gets his marijuana, and like when
Oh
they're
no,
walking-
Vernon like spilled coffee all over his desk or
Oh
something.
yeah.
Yeah. Very black tar-like coffee.
Yeah, and he's like, what the fuck? Did they scrape this off the Mississippi River? Um, and then as they're walking down the hall, Brian is like to Clark is like, "What are we doing here? Then why are we out?" And Clark is like, "If you keep asking me questions, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Brian, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Even I was like, man, shut up.
Yeah, just if Vernon hears you, it's on you this time, not John. But yeah, they get their marijuana, John's marijuana, and they try to run away from Vernon, but like, because of Clark, they go the wrong way, and John decides like, no, I'll take the fall for this, and Vernon loses it, and he's like, all right, you'll not be seeing John anymore, and you think about this in 5 years, where John will be, and you just see John be like, oh, he's calling me out of my bullshit again.
Yeah, and he's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Again, I don't get John. I really don't. I don't like him. So I was like, yeah, let's get locked up in the stock room. We've all been there.
And then the teacher's like, once you've forgotten about this place and this place has forgotten about you, I'm gonna kick the shit out of you. I'm like, I don't think as a teacher you have the right to say that, dude, sir. That's totally
Right. But it's his word against my words against his?
Yeah.
Or his words against his. Sorry, my bad.
His words
But-
against John's, and he's like, who's gonna believe you? Are you
Yeah.
You're the criminal in my head and the school's head, so why would anyone believe you and not believe me? I'm Mr. Perfect. I'm the straight guy.
Yeah. Like, I'm looked up here. I'm loved. And I was like, wow, okay. But you start to feel for John. You're like, oh, that sucks. Nobody's going to believe him no matter what.
Yeah.
And I get it. I wouldn't.
And then he
No, seriously, if I met John in person, I'm like, I don't believe everything you say. I'm going to walk that way, away from you.
Right.
Goodbye.
And then even dares John to hit him, and John doesn't, which I guess is a good thing for him because he's like,
I'm sorry, but I laughed when Vernon went. And then walks away.
John's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, tapped into daddy hits him when he's at home kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's I can see why it's a little bit harsh on John.
Yeah. And then he does a Die Hard, and calls to DVD. Calls to the ventilators, and he crashes through, and he's like, I forgot my pencil.
Yeah. And, like, that's when they start smoking the weed, right?
Yeah.
I love Allison's reaction when they got the weed from the locker.
Yeah.
She's like... Because Brian was like, is that weed?
Yeah.
Is that marijuana? Is that marijuana? And, like, Allison at the back is like... And I love her face the whole fucking time.
Right?
I would say Allison was like a standout for me. She's just funny, but she's just quiet at the back.
Yeah. But eventually, Brian and Clark are kind of bonding, and then Clark asks Brian, like, what's your middle name? And Allison comes in, like, your middle name's this, your weight's this, your social security number's this, and he's like, how do you know that about me? Exactly.
Are you a psychic?
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I stole your wallet. I'm like, wow.
And then also, like, do you want to see what's in my bag? No. She just dumps her life in the couch.
Which could have meant something. There would have been a hidden message here and there.
Yeah.
Like, that's her entire life is that bad because she's ready to run away because life is...
Boring.
Like, life at home...
It's unsatisfactory.
It's not satisfying to her. So I was like,
Yeah.
eh.
And then this when Clark and Allison start to bond. They're like, I kind of like this more than Claire and John.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where they start to open up. This whole thing is just an experiment.
Yeah.
What would 5 teens do for 8 hours when the teacher tells them to do nothing in a room?
Yeah.
Pretty cool library though.
Allison like to Clark, she's like, you have problems. Like, I have problems? You just dumped your entire life in the couch. What's your problem? She's quiet and he's like, is it your parent? She's like, yes. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And they both start to clear up the air with each other. She goes like, my parents don't really what? Give me attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the entire thing. Is like she doesn't get enough attention. That's why she lies. She makes up stories.
Yeah.
Like her saying she likes vodka. The whole time she's just lying.
Yeah.
Especially why she's here, which we will get to by the ending.
Yeah, and then they end up upstairs in the circle where the first question is, what would you do with $1 million? And you can tell Clark's not very imaginative because, like, I don't know what I'll do. Don't know what
Which
I'll do
shows that he does not think for himself.
Yeah.
He has the teachers, his dad, planning out his entire life, its entire course
Yeah.
for him. And yeah, that's his biggest thing.
And then it's kind of messed up how they make Claire confess that she is a virgin. Because Alan's like,
Claire,
says some troublesome stuff like, oh, I had sex with my therapist, and she says something else, and you're like, fucking shit, okay.
She says a very sketchy story, which I don't think anybody can do in showbiz, unless you're like A24 or something.
Unless you want to be in deep shit.
Yeah. This is very like yeesh commentary.
Yeah, and like 80s, you're like, again, times were very different, and not saying we, of course, we don't condone it, but like, it's just the times were different, and you can't really judge it through modern perspective. I mean, you can be like, that's bad, but like, you can't really change it.
Yeah, it's a product of its time.
Yeah.
You know, where things are very loose. They say the F word a lot, and I'm not talking about fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that disturbs Claire, but like the conversation moves on to like, what can you do? And Claire can do this neat trick with a pen, and again, John's just being an insensitive prick.
Oh, it's the lipstick on her boobs.
Yeah. And like he condescends to her so much that she starts crying. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, everybody's having a good time, and then John starts to attack.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why? She has this whole meltdown in front of the entire like group.
Yeah.
And then what's this? They're okay 5 minutes later.
Right?
Like I would not be okay the whole day.
Like
I would not talk to this person.
I'd be very uncomfortable and be checking on her like, hey, are you okay?
And like, say what you will. If you say that whatever John said was like they needed to say it to her because she's like a delusional popular girl or some shit like that, and she needs to hear it, you could do that in private.
Or can do it
you don't need to.
Ways.
Yeah, you don't need to expose her in front of people and humiliate her. I was like, damn, that's
like,
horrible.
Once you make someone cry, you're like, you really crossed the line now.
Yeah. There are multiple situations where I was like, I want to punch John in the face.
Like, Clark, please just slam his body into the ground. Like, you can tell Vernon like he fell or some shit like that.
They never explained what Allison did with the knife, by the way.
Yeah, she just took it. You're like, what are you going to do with that?
Is that safe?
And John's not like, where the fuck did my knife go?
Right? Or he just doesn't care.
Turns to that bully from it, like, my dad's gonna kill me, and gets mauled by a clown outside.
Yeah. And this is where we get Brian and Allison to confess why they're here. Which...
And Clark, because Clark tells them, like, I'm here because I taped someone's buns together. Because my dad says there's no weaklings allowed on this world, and
you can tell that Clark's dad was the bully of the school.
Yeah.
With, like, all the glorified stories that he told, all the fun that he had back in high school.
Yeah.
And I like it that Clark has more sympathy and empathy compared to his father.
Yeah, and he's just like, I can't imagine what it was like for the other guy to just go home and tell his parents what happened with such embarrassment. And again, really enough, 5 minutes later, Clark's okay. You're like, you need therapy. Oh, y'all need therapy.
Yeah. And we also get a story from Brian where he's like, I messed up on this project.
First you think,
then,
he just messed up. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Like, to us, he's crazy because you're like, oh, you just had one bad grade.
Yeah.
And to you, your life is destroyed.
Yeah.
Everybody rolled their eyes at it.
Yeah.
But to him, it his life was destroyed when he got that F.
I think the second half of that story continues because like Brian asks everyone like, "What are we going to do after detention? What's life going to be like?" And Claire is honest, and yeah, she does it in a shitty way, but like it's like we go back to our social roots. You go to your clique, I go back to my clique. If you say hi to me, if you say hi to Clark, he's gonna be like, "Hi, what a fucking dork."
True. Yeah. It's upsetting. Well, you can see Clark. He doesn't know. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're still friends. And then like Claire kind of had to clear up the air. Like, no, once you go back to your job friends, he's nobody to you.
Yeah,
Which is true. Shitty, but true.
like going through high school myself, like I know that reality all too well. Like, yeah, I know what that feels like. I'm sorry, Brian. It sucks.
It sucks a lot where you think you're friends with somebody.
Yeah.
Woo!
Like it's weird because you like see them in the mall and they're the friendliest person on earth. You're like, this is new. And
Right,
then you
because
back-
they're not around the environment that they're used to.
Yeah. Then you back to school like, oh, you're a shithead now. I don't understand this now, but maybe one day I will. No, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and for Brian, it's hard to accept. Like, why can't we be friends? We got so close to each other here. Why can't we stay like this?
Yeah. Even now, I'm like, yeah, why can't you? I know it's high school, but it's just a stupid thing to be like, no, we belong to this clique. No, you can mix and match. It's fine.
Yes, it is, but it is hard. I could see why. Like, you're with the popular kids.
And the pressure they.
Yeah, like, why are you hanging out with him?
Yeah.
For a kid, sure. As us as adults, us in our 20s, we choose our friends no matter who they are
Yeah.
and what clique they're in or
Yeah.
what interest they have. Back in the day, you didn't want your reputation to be destroyed or people to think that you're this way or that way. Nowadays, we don't care, but back in the day, we did.
Yeah, yeah. And Claire tells Brian, like, you don't know the pressure. It's like, you don't think I understand pressure? That's my whole life. That's why he took it so hard when he failed that arts and crafts, I think it's arts and crafts project. Like, that he contemplated taking
Something shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why he's at detention is that he had a gun in his locker.
Yeah.
Which shows us, like, fuck, this kid's messed up because of his parents
Yeah.
and his like life at home, where no one failure is enough for him to just like, oh, that's it.
He doesn't know how to handle failure. He was never taught. He just knows that it's the worst thing possible.
Yeah. And Allison, she reveals that the reason why she's here is that she has nothing else to do.
And they're like,
nobody's her friend.
Yeah. But then they take it as like, of course, why not? But yeah.
Yeah.
Before that, Brian says it was a flare gun and it went off. And for some reason, Clark starts laughing. You're like, Clark, you're an idiot.
Sorry, but I also laughed because I was like,
Me too.
It's like, oh.
Like, Clark started it. Like, I'm back in high school again.
No, because, like, if he... That would have been so horrible if he actually, committed.
Yeah.
Because it's a slow process. It's a horrible process.
Yeah. And I do like, going back a few scenes, like, the scene where the janitor and the, I guess, principal, where they're like, I can't believe, what keeps me up at night is knowing the fact that these kids will take care of me in like 5 years' time. And janitor's like, if you were them, what would you think? Like, think I care what they care? You do.
I love how the janitor's the most woke one from the whole school.
Yeah. And even when John's being a shit to him, like, what does it take to be a janitor? He's like, oh, you're being smart. I know everything about you guys, everything about this school. So don't think I'm an idiot.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, after their, heart-to-heart session, they have a dance session. And they're like, of course, I don't see why, but it's an 80s movie.
Yeah, and I like it. They do a little dance together.
Yeah.
They're having fun. Was that before or after the big talk?
That was after.
I thought it was before.
No, they all had their heart-to-heart when, and then Allison's like, I'm here because I want to be here, and they laugh, and then that's when the dance session happens.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
And then
And yeah, go on.
after that, they convince Brian like, "Hey, can you do this for us?" Like I kind of been there in like college where they're like, "We don't know how to English that well. Can you speak for the group?" Like, sure. Out of the goodness of my heart, I will.
And I'm sorry, but if ever we were in that situation, I would not be writing that essay.
Oh, you would choose me too?
Yeah, like, dude, I can't write essays to save my life.
It's
Seriously.
fun. Yeah, it's a learning then. Even I struggle with it. Like, well, how many words does it need?
Yeah. Does the count?
Yeah. I am becomes I am. We're giving you tips on college and high school, folks.
Yeah.
If you're watching this at the appropriate age. And
Unless you're doing it on the computer
yeah, you'll be
and
fine.
make your letters color white and just type as much words as you want.
Yeah. And then Claire gives Allison makeup, and then John goes back, but Claire meets him in the storage area, and they make out. You're like, huh?
I think they do more than just making out.
Do you think they go to third base?
Well, yeah, well, that's the whole thing with Claire, right? Like her thing is that she's a princess and she's popular, but she's never had the sex before.
Oh my god. Remember when the teacher was looking for John after he fell to the ceiling and he was hiding under her?
Ah! I don't like that scene. I
That's-
really don't.
That is jail time. That is. No
Yes.
question. Doesn't matter if it's in the 80s. I don't know how things were in the 80s really. But if it's definitely now, that's like you're going to be locked up in jail. And then we're going to call your parents. And then we're going to see what happens. You're expelled, by the way.
And they're supposed to be like 16 or 17, and I was like, oh, Lord.
Oh, fuck.
I was like, that's not cool.
Yeah, Allison comes out looking way differently, and Clark falls for her, and you're like, I'm more comfortable with this.
Yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
We're okay with this. Like, the jock goes with the weirdo. She is very pretty, but I did prefer her with the messy hair a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, I have a thing for like bangs, so I'm like, I kind of prefer the old look.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah. And then they leave detention, and
Where'd they get the dress?
right? Go figure. I guess maybe Claire had a spare. I don't know. I really don't know. And then they go out of detention, and it starts out. It ends how it begins. Like, you're confining us to one singular word, and we're not that. We're more than that. And you think, like, thank God, at least there's one comfortable relationship building out of this. Because with John and Claire, I'm like, I'm really not comfortable with you two. I'm
Yeah,
scared for Claire.
they kiss in front of the dad while he's in the car.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd have been so pissed off if I was the dad.
Yeah.
And she gives him like the diamond earring, and Brian reads out the essay that he wrote
Yeah.
for detention, and they all agree that they're called the Breakfast Club, which I'm guessing shows that they're gonna meet again next.
Probably. Or sometime
Yeah.
in their lives. I hope maybe Claire and John don't end up in the same time schedule though. Like maybe she can go on Friday and he can go on Saturday. I don't know. I don't know how detention works in the 80s. Because it works differently for
neither-
us.
For us, detention was 30 minutes,
Right?
not 8 hours. Fuck.
Imagine our detention like for 8 hours. I think my legs would break from squatting.
We were built strong.
Yeah. Like that's why I kick like a motherfucker during soccer time. But yeah, that's enough about our personal lives. What would you rate this movie?
A lot of the time I just got annoyed with this movie. I'm sorry. I know people like it, but I'm like, ugh. But when they did have to say something about a certain thing, like, oh, parents back in the day, or how kids are, like what I said, like, what's behind a bully, what's behind a bullied person, what's behind a smart kid, you know, etc., etc. And they do a really good job. Like, hey, you can't take life at face value. Sure, he might be the jock, but you don't know what his life is like.
Like Brian's situation, I've met people like that. We've met
Yeah.
people like that.
Yeah, and we hated them. And then we realized, like, oh shit, maybe their parents kind of expected more from them when they tried their best.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible thing to, to realize.
Like, I can't believe I'm only in B honor. Like, I didn't even make it, asshole. Now you're like, no, the parents wanted A plus. Okay.
Yeah, like, once they get home, they're kind of scared to, like, But we've gone through this. I do like the commentaries that they have, yes, during every time we say the word commentary. And, like, the message we get. Like, this is a very smart movie. But I will say the weakest thing about this movie is John, what's his name?
Bender.
Bender. Yeah, the criminal.
Yeah.
I really don't like him.
Yeah.
I will never like him.
Yeah.
I tried to like him.
That's fine. Like,
Yeah, and that's fine.
Like, it just bugs me when people, imitate this. And you're like, you're copying a shithead. Alright.
You're right. Who knows? He might develop as 2 months goes on.
Maybe, hopefully.
But he's a shitty person. But yeah, a lot of times I rolled my eyes at some scenes.
Yeah.
But I give this one a 7. Flat 7 out of 10.
I'll give this a flat 8. I do like most of the characters, like Clark, Claire, Allison, and Brian. I find them charming. I find their predicaments, like, still relevant. Even John's, even though he's a shithead, like, unfortunately, I've met people with that background, and thankfully enough, they've grown up to be very respectable people. You're like, I'm proud to have seen you grown. You're a very respectable human being, despite your circumstances. You're becoming better.
Yeah.
It's a very timely message, and yeah, it's part of its time, but some things universally are still like, oh, I recognize that. But yeah, 8 out of 10, and you see why John Hughes has inspired multiple movies like Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, that's very John Hughes.
Yeah. A lot of high school movies. This is probably the first high school movie. Would you say?
I think it's the most first mainstream ones, because the other ones are like The Graduate. You're like, I can't really relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct us if we're wrong. If there's any movies in the 70s that was about high school, let us know in the comments below, or say something in our Discord.
I think it took off in the 80s, because they're like, this is it's a more fun time than the 70s. We're celebrating, all the riches that's coming from the 80s, even though we'll pay for it in the 2020s. Go figure. Like, ozone? What ozone hole? Oh, fuck, it's so hot. Yeah, but yeah. This is not an inconvenient truth. We'll talk about it some other time in the future, I guess. But yeah, that's been a video on the breakfast stuff. What do you guys think? Comment below. And let us know, how's your high school life like? We're curious now. If you want to say it in the comments, if you're not comfortable with that, that's fine. You can say it in the Discord too, but if you rather keep it to yourselves, we totally understand.
Yeah.
If you want to see more of us, please like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. And if you want to see us react to the latest trailers, we have a facebook.com/geeksanddegenerates. We also stream video games and stream about our lives. You can also hear us on the go on Spotify. We have a Spotify podcast, so you can hear us on the road if you want to take a road trip or see your old high school. I know I never want to go back to my old high school and while listening to a podcast, but maybe you guys have a better high school life.
Unless it's being demolished, I would love to watch that.
Yeah, listening to ourselves, sure.
Yeah, like we just had popcorn, look through the monkey bars outside, just like, damn.
And that
bye.
That podcast is also on Facebook. But yeah, individually you can find me at JenDalphus995 on IG and Twitter. How about you?
Oh, you can find me at JohnGOM on Instagram. It is my article. Also, we have a TikTok.
Yeah, we have a TikTok. Yeah, we have a TikTok. I don't know why.
I hate you. I hate you so much. It was going so well.
But if you're interested to see more requests, give it to your community under the same name. Please request for movies. And again, it'll take some time until we get to those, but we'll get to them. Our upcoming Halloween slate is still open for requests and for multiple Halloweens to come. But yeah, did you say where you're from?
What?
What's your Instagram? IG, what's your IG?
I already said my IG!
But yeah, that's all the time we have, folks, and please don't forget about us. Goodbye.
Hey, goodbye. Oh, yeah, we have a